Good morning. It's the start of a brand new week on Ireland AM, and the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy Bowe is back after his holiday break. It's been a month.
So nice to see you've ever said about me.
It's been a month.
It has been a month. I know, and boy, it feels good.
Does it feel good?
It felt good. This morning didn't feel so good.
Didn't feel so good.
But no, great to be back. Yeah, missed you.
And look what he got us. He got us mugs.
Mug.
Were they on? What?
They're on offer.
They were on offer. They came in with the tag on saying they had been £5.
Every mug I had, you see, had Murren's lipstick on it all the time. So now you can't steal mine anymore. That's yours and you got it. Anyway, it's great to be back. Looking forward to a busy old show. We're going to be talking everything from transport to tech to Ted Lasso.
There's lots coming up. First, congratulations to Camogie champions Kilkenny. What a match that was yesterday against Cork. We're going to be looking back on the Cats' stunning clash with Cork, plus the return of the Premier League in your sports review at 7:15.
And Leeds got off to a winning start. Happy days. Now, despite celebs like Freddie Flintoff and Ed Sheeran speaking about their struggles with eating disorders, there is still a secrecy and stigma among men. We're going to meet the Belfast man sharing his story.
Plus, we chat to Ted Lasso star Bill Fellows, who says it's not the Emmy-winning show that's given him a profile, but rather his time on the Corrie Cobbles. Chatting to him just a little bit later on.
Maybe it's Ted Lasso too.
A little bit.
We'll be finding
What a
out.
show.
Now, Alan, how are you getting on?
Good morning, Tommy.
Morning.
Welcome back. Look, I have my mug as well. Look, yeah. All got our mugs.
Oh, I'm so good to you.
You're so good to us. £4.
So good to us.
Pounds.
Now, later on, we're going to check out the best laptops for college students. Plus, ahead of the expected extension of opening hours for pubs and clubs, we discussed, don't get me started on this, the issue with late-night public transport, trying to get home after a night out. Get in touch with us with your experiences if you've found it difficult to get home after a night out, especially in Dublin at the moment. And good morning, Derek. Looks like we're in for a lot of sunshine this week. Where are you this morning?
Absolutely, Al. We're live down here in Naas, County Kildare. Guess what, guys? We have sunshine Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In fact, temperatures are going to get up to about 28 degrees towards the back end of the week. So some lovely, lovely weather to look forward to over the next couple of days. But Tommy, because it's kind of your first day back to school, as I said, we're here in County Kildare this morning. We're going to be heading out the road towards Mondello because we've got some vintage Formula One cars coming your way. So we're going to be driving in the fast lane right across the morning. You're going to love this one, Tommy.
I'm going to love that, Derek. Did that
Welcome
especially
back, by
for
the
me.
way.
Thank you. Cheers, Derek.
And
Catch up
everyone
later.
can thank Tommy Bowe for the weather, because first day back at school and everyone goes back to school.
27, 28
Great
degrees.
weather. So thank you, Tommy, for
Love
that.
it.
But right now, let's go over to the Virgin Media News Hub for the first time today and say good morning to Rob O'Hanrahan.
Thanks, Murren. Good morning. Gardaí are continuing to question a man in his 30s in relation to the discovery of another man's body in Dublin. Gardaí say they discovered the body of the man in his late 20s at an apartment on Ackle Road in Drumcondra on Saturday evening. The scene remained sealed off until yesterday afternoon, while a separate scene in an area of nearby Griffith Park was also sealed off for a time. An incident room has been set up at Ballymun Garda Station. In the US, the Senate has passed a significant $750 billion healthcare tax and climate bill. The final vote tallied at 51-50, with Vice President Kamala Harris breaking a deadlocked vote. The package would give Democrats a chance to achieve major policy objectives ahead of crucial midterm elections in November and would mark the largest climate investment in US history.
It's been a long, tough, and winding road. We did it without a single vote to spare. To do something with 50 votes is rough. To do small things with 50 votes is rough. To pass such a major piece of legislation with only 50 votes, an intransigent Republican minority, a caucus running from Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin. Wow.
A ceasefire came into effect between Israel and Palestine overnight. The deal, brokered by Egypt, follows increased conflict in the region since Friday, which has left dozens of people dead. Marie Mulcahy has this report.
A wave of Israeli airstrikes on Gaza has left a trail of destruction in recent days. One attack in North Gaza destroying an apartment block, killing many residents, including a commander of the Islamic Jihad militant group, the second commander to be targeted. The killing of the first senior commander of the group on Friday sparked this fresh hostility. Israel says that killing was a preemptive move to stop an imminent attack. Since then, Israel says its air defence system has intercepted hundreds of rockets from Gaza City. So far, the larger Hamas Palestinian militant group has not been directly involved. It fought a bitter war with Israel last year. Last night, it emerged Egypt had brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian militants, which was set to come into effect overnight. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
The UN Secretary-General has condemned a recent attack on a nuclear power station in Ukraine. Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station came under fire late Saturday, with Russia and Ukraine accusing each other of the attack. The International Atomic Energy Agency recently warned that the way the plant was being run and the fighting going on around it posed grave health and environmental threats.
Any attack to a nuclear plant is a suicidal thing, and I hope that those attacks will end. And at the same time, I hope that the IAEA will be able to have access to the plant and to exercise its mandate competencies.
While the second fleet of ships containing much-needed grain has left Ukrainian ports to deliver to countries around the world, 4 more vessels sailed from different ports to Italy, China and Turkey. Last week, 3 ships, including one bringing grain to be used in animal feed to Ireland, left Odessa port after being stuck in the Black Sea port since Russia's invasion in February. Another weather advisory has been issued by Met Éireann with high temperatures forecast for this week. The hot weather is expected to last from Wednesday and continue into next weekend. Daytime temperatures are expected to reach the mid to high 20s, and Met Éireann says conditions will remain uncomfortably warm at night. A new report shows that wind energy provided 21% of Ireland's electricity in July. The figures released by Wind Energy Ireland shows that wind energy has supplied 34% of Ireland's electricity demand to date this year. The figure of 21% for July is in line with seasonal expectations and also marks a doubling on the same month in 2021. Colombia's first leftist president has addressed the nation after being sworn into office, calling for a new international convention that accepts the war on drugs has failed. Gustavo Petro promised to fight inequality and bring peace to a country haunted by feuds between the government, drug traffickers and rebel groups. The newly elected president, a former member of Colombia's M19 guerrilla group, said the country was getting a second chance to tackle violence and poverty. And a London museum has agreed to return 72 objects looted from Benin City in 1897 to the Nigerian government. The Horniman Museum and Gardens announced the transfer, with all of the objects taken from the Kingdom of Benin during a British military operation in February 1897. The artefacts include 12 brass plaques that are part of a genre known as the Benin Bronzes. The decision comes as a victory for Nigeria and other African countries that have fought to recover cultural artefacts seized during military occupation and held in museums by former colonial powers.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you very much, Joe. We're coming to you live here from Naas in County Kildare this morning. A beautiful start here for the Lily Whites, and let's take an opening look at weather together now as we get into the 7 o'clock hour with Oisin Moore on cameras. And I have to say, it's the most delicious start following a mini sunny day yesterday for most parts, with the exception of the north. But some nice bright spells now to kick-start your Monday morning in those light westerly or variable breezes. Now, right across this afternoon, in fact, wall-to-wall sunshine for many years. It will be slightly hazy at times, but certainly that sunshine winning out right across the day. And keep an eye on those valleys warming up pretty sweetly too. Top temps of 18 to 23 degrees. And finally then tonight, mainly dry, calm, clear and settled. Again, a little bit of light cloud cover trailing around, but elsewhere some more good sunshine on the cards as we work our way into your Tuesday, with values back to about 8 to 12 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here in Naas in County Kildare at the moment. We'll catch you back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
It's time now to take a look at today's paper, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline: Government's climate plan in legal challenge. It says that the scheme to reduce energy consumption faces legal threat from the oil industry, as Ireland must make a specific amount of energy savings within the next decade.
Sales of €1 million homes explode in first half of year. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. It goes on to say that a number of residential Dublin property deals valued at more than €1 million or more has soared by 44%.
The Examiner leads with fresh calls for ban on evicting renters. A fresh ban on evictions has been called for as the number of renters being forced from their homes by their landlords has more than doubled in the last 12 months.
The Herald's headline is Missing Man Found Shot Dead in Flat. A murder investigation has been launched after the discovery of a body of Sean McCarthy, who Gardaí believe died as a result of a drug death shooting.
The Sun also lead with that story. Their headline, Missing Sean Found Shot Dead.
The Mirror and the Star both lead with that, using the same headline, lured to his death.
And finally, the top story in the Daily Mail is millions at risk of power cuts this winter. An energy expert says Ireland is the worst prepared country in Europe for an energy crisis and that the possibility of rolling blackouts this winter could be catastrophic. Welcome back. How are you doing? Did you enjoy that when you didn't have all the doom and gloom first thing in the morning?
I had no clue any of that was going on.
It's like, for a month you just tune out. You have no idea what's going
brilliant.
on. It's lovely. Do you know what? We're going to get more on the possibility of power cuts and all of today's top stories very shortly.
But first, we're going to be turned to the back pages. Your sports review is coming up after the break. Now, fresh from calls for an eviction ban to potential power cuts this winter, we're taking you through the top stories. Welcome, good morning.
Welcome back.
It's
Look at
great
that
to
big
be
smile
back,
on your
isn't it?
face. It's so nice to have you back for
Yeah.
this. He's like, oh my God. With us
isn't
now
it?
to make Tommy happy is Jack Horgan-Jones, political reporter with the Irish Times. Jack, it is lovely to have you here. And we are starting with something that is just depressing. So this is a call for a ban on evicting renters after they more than doubled this year.
Big spike, yeah. It looks like a kind of post-COVID spike. We obviously know that we had the ban on evictions during COVID, and that ticked off in April of last year. So the figures that were released to Sinn Féin's housing spokesman Owen O'Brien show that since then, predictably enough, you have a steady and constant increase in the number of people being evicted from about 841 during that period, April to June of last year, through to, I think it's just under 1,800, 1,781 over the same period this year. So just more than a doubling, and that constant kind of ramping up effect. And what they're saying is that the main driver of this is landlords coming back and taking advantage of that one kind of golden rule that exists for them, which is that if they want to sell their house or if they want to exit the market or if they want to put a family member in, that gives them the chance to evict someone and to terminate that.
So
notice.
it's not really from lack of payments or missing out like that. A lot of the landlords are just wanting, because the prices of property at the minute is so sky high, they're thinking that let's just get out of the market, sell it, take a profit and move on. So, I mean, to be fair to landlords, it's not really on them, is it?
Well, look, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, I kind of hate that phrase, accidental landlord, but it does describe a certain phenomenon in the Irish property market, which dates back to, the Celtic Tiger years. A lot of people got involved. A lot of people were underwater in terms of negative equity for a long time. And because we have had that massive upswing in property prices over the last, I suppose, decade or so, you are seeing a lot of people finally being able to be in a situation where the property cleans its face again. So they're saying, look, I'm going to try and get out from under this mountain of debt and get rid of this legacy investment property that I bought in 2004, 2005. So you do see dynamics like that coming through. Some interesting solutions being proposed, in fairness, by O'Brien on this front, talking about things like, obviously, the ban is the eye-catching one. Now, I think that's probably the least likely one because it was one of those things that we got in during COVID. It's always had constitutional concerns over it. But other things like a tenant in situ purchase scheme. So I presume that would involve, someone sitting there, probably with a state-supported loan, and the logic being that if the landlord is selling anyway, why not sell it to the person who's living there if they're able to support the debt?
Yes.
If that's the thing, if they can afford to do it.
If they can afford to do it.
But there's also a front page headline of 44% of houses, €1 million houses in Dublin has jumped 44%. 78% in Wicklow, by the way, is how much it's gone. Because I know houses that they say they're $1 million now, and it's like a 3-bed semi-D.
That's what houses in Dublin are not $1 million at this stage.
That's
well, mine.
exactly what I'm thinking with all this kind of stuff. But it is a huge amount. The issue is in Ireland, when you look at certain things, where are these landlords going? Because we know that there's very few properties on, we'll say, to rent, but there's lots on Airbnb. Like a lot of short-term lettings in comparison to what's going on. So are they selling them? What's actually happening? And why are private landlords corporate landlords are taxed at a tiny percentage and private landlords are taxed hugely.
Yeah, and what's the solution? I mean, like, I think that there will be cause for stuff to happen in the budget this year. You'll remember last year's budget.
Yeah.
There was nothing in there for renters whatsoever. There was no tax breaks, no extra payments or anything like that. So I suspect there'll be a big call this year because let's not forget the sharpest end of this is the homelessness crisis.
Yeah.
And we have figures there above 10,000 this year, hovering towards their 2019 peak. So I think there'll be a big push on to do something for renters, but maybe also for landlords and smaller landlords in the budget this year as well.
We should just say in the past year, a total of 5,600 notices to quit to evictions. It's huge.
It's
almost 6,000.
Frightening numbers. Let's move on to another frightening story as well. That Ireland is probably the worst prepared country in Europe for an energy crisis.
Yes.
Which
Is
looks
anyone
like
surprised by this?
Well, as you were
I'm a
saying
bit
off air, it's kind of
surprised.
yeah. I mean, like it's been hanging around in the background for the last couple of years. We've had these things called Amber Alerts and systems security supply issues, but we've always managed to kind of keep the wolf from the door over the last couple of years, despite the fact that like the energy grid has been kind of living hand to mouth in terms of keeping the lights on over the winter. The thing that's different this year is obviously the cost of gas, the cost of the raw materials, and the general security of supply situation, not only in Ireland but across Europe, and how that might affect the situation here. So that's all coming to a head. Story in the Business Post yesterday detailed that we were planning to bring this emergency generation on stream before the winter, but that's not going to be there in time.
Why
so
not? Is there a reason for it?
It seems to be inertia. I mean, they wanted to basically ship these big kind of jet engine type things in, put them down in the quays, but they seem to be building them instead, and they're not going to be ready for 15 months.
Yeah.
So now they're talking about curbing the use of the electricity market. Now, I think
Because
when people see that, they get
Europe,
afraid.
aren't we?
We are a little bit. When people see that, they get afraid and they think my shower is going to run cold.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna turn on the gas to make the dinner. It's not going to be there. That's not what they're talking about. And indeed, people, residents in places like hospital, they're all protected consumers of energy products. So they're the very last persons to be hit. What they are talking about is introducing these super high tariffs on high energy users like data centres to kind of try and encourage them when there's pressure on the system not to turn it on, or if they are turning on their machines or whatever it is that actually lives inside data centres, I'm not quite sure. Use on-site generation, use their own backup generators instead of relying on the grid, just to free up that little bit of capacity.
They're taking up to
other
a fifth
countries
of the grid. They're taking a fifth of our power, so it's not you sitting at home watching Coronation Street, putting on the kettle to have a cup of tea. They are talking about
But
these
even
big
simple things like I saw in other countries around Europe, like turning off lights over monuments in the evening. And in every shop window, they have their lights on, always at night time. Small things that can be done can reduce the energy
but there's also
savings
then we already know that people have this fear of walking around city centres around Ireland, that there seems to be this vibe, and then if you've turned off all the lights as well,
But not
like,
the street
like
lights.
times.
I mean, the lights inside the shops or on the windows.
I know, but it makes them feel more alive, and it makes you feel safer when you've got lots of light. You know, I'm just thinking, and it makes it feel like it's an alive place.
A general
That's all
feeling
I'm
of
saying.
dereliction in town centres
When
and all the
there's
rest. So,
nothing
but look, the fact of it is, you know, demand-side measures, you have to find something, and sometimes those little slivers can make a big difference in the aggregate when you add it up all over winter.
Lamplighters. We'll go back to Dickensian times.
Bring back the Glimmer Man.
Bring back.
Listen, well, we don't have to worry about it for the minute because it looks like we're into a bit of a banger of a
heat wave,
week,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the second August heat wave in the last 20 years, apparently, and we're looking at temperatures of more than 25 degrees, looks like, around the country.
Tell us more, Derek. Tell us more. I think she's Let's go, Jack. Jack is like, I'm a serious political reporter.
Yes, but I also do the weather now. So, yeah, look, I mean, we obviously had this earlier on this summer, and, you know, it's great and it's fantastic and all the rest of it, but, like, you can't even enjoy it anymore because it's tinged with this fear about climate change. And I was reading stuff over the weekend, like, we are the thin end of the wedge. It doesn't happen as badly here, much like with the electricity demand generation stuff. It doesn't happen as badly here. I was reading about in places like even in Switzerland, which apparently has been immune to water shortages for ages because of glaciers. They're having to like helicopter vats of water up to the Alps to make sure the cattle have enough to drink. So I mean, in Europe it's really serious, and here it's nice. In Ireland it's nice weather, but all of it is kind of underscored with this growing sense of dread.
At the end,
plague of locusts next door.
At the end of the story, it's like 13 areas have been impacted by water shortages. So enjoy the weather, but no paddling.
Don't be watering the plants.
Jack Horgan-Jones, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Cheers from the Irish Times. Now, over to Alan. What's next, Alan?
Well, we're in as a 24/7 Lewis services ruled out for the capital. We discussed the need for more late-night public transport options. We're back after this break, and we want to hear your opinions on it.
Hello.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, government plans to extend opening hours for pubs and clubs has brought the lack of late-night transport options sharply into focus.
Joining us to discuss are Trinity professor and public transport expert Brian Caulfield and DJ Sunil Sharp from the Give Us the Night campaign. Good morning to you both, and thank you both so much for joining us. Of course, we are well aware that other places are outside of Dublin and that they don't have as many transport links as perhaps we do here. But there was a comment made this weekend, Brian, about the Luas in Dublin, which is our tram system, but it couldn't possibly run past 1 a.m. because it needs so much maintenance. Because this is for late night transport, they're like, the Luas could run all night, couldn't it? Like other cities?
In theory, yes, it could. And I think the argument that the NTA put out there was it was to do with maintenance and upkeep and cleaning. But, you know, the system's only 18 years old. And there's systems across the world, like, say, in Melbourne, it's 130 years old and they run 24 hours a day. So I don't really see that as an excuse why we can't let it run and why it has to go to bed and let people stranded in town.
Especially if it's just a Friday and Saturday. The maintenance can be there from Monday through to Thursday and then on Sunday. You're talking about maybe 2 nights of the week.
Exactly. And as I said, the system isn't that old that it should need that much maintenance. It's only 2 lines. I think we need to be a little bit more dynamic in how we provide public transport at night time. And we know when the demand is likely to be. We can do it at Christmas. So why not extend it throughout the rest of the year? Or even just trial it. Let's see if it works.
Yeah. I suppose an awful lot of the issues there might be... Because this wasn't coming from the government. It was the Luas themselves saying, no, we won't be able to do this. Because there has been calls for a dedicated transport Garda service.
Yeah. Because
of the antisocial behaviour that's happening on public transport.
There has been. And, you know, if you see some of the stories or anything you maybe see on social media, you see that, you know, it is a scary place at night time to be on public transport. And I do think, you know, it's low-hanging fruit that we should have this type of service there because, you know, we're trying our best to get people onto public transport due to climate and all the rest at the moment. And these things are getting in the way. And I'd imagine if more TDs took public transport across this country, I would imagine that service would be there a lot quicker.
They would see what they had to put up. But if you're in town on a Friday or Saturday night, and not only in Dublin, in other parts of the country, but the late night buses, is it still 1 an hour?
I think that the timetable it's maybe a bit more than that, but it is.
But I've seen it where so the bus is packed in the city centre, and then where I live, going out towards the Malahide Road, you're in Fairview. You'll never get that bus because it's full, and there'd be like 30, 40 people at a bus stop. That they're never going to get a chance of getting that bus unless they walk into town.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of thing has been happening a lot. But there are a couple of new 24-hour bus services that operate, but they're very sparse across the city. But like the Luas operating would be only maybe 1 every 30 minutes. It's not as if we're asking for, you know, a 6-minute frequency, but there could be pushback in terms of noise. People that live near these Luas lines may not want to have them running all the time.
So, Neil, you're a part of the Give Us the Night campaign, and you have been campaigning for us to have licensing laws in line with Europe for a very long time, rather than the nanny state of you're all bold, go home to bed now, and everyone's going out into the street at the same time, which is causing a bottleneck. Yeah. This is where taxis come in around the country. We're hearing more and more everywhere. People cannot get taxis, they cannot get home. And do you think this is having a completely negative effect on people actually going out?
It definitely is, yeah. I mean, we need to build back up confidence in the industry. When we returned after COVID, it was vital at that stage that our transport service was right across every type, you know, was functioning correctly, and it just hasn't. It's been broken. And we've seen a lot of taxi drivers leave the industry. I mean, I think the difference with taxis, taxi drivers are private contractors, you know, and I think this problem is not going to be fixed overnight. It's not even going to be fixed in 6 months, I don't think. It could take a year or two. We really don't know how many taxi drivers are going to come back to the industry, or how many new drivers are going to be interested in driving at night or becoming a taxi driver. So really, I think we need to focus. I mean, the government are making changes in terms of the pickup charge. I mean, you will remember at one point they were rejecting, the taxi drivers didn't want that additional pickup charge around the time of deregulation going way back. Now they're saying that it would help bring more people back to the trades. So I mean, that's a separate work in progress. I think we need to focus now on buses. We were talking about buses. That should be the priority, because that's the Buses appear to be the service that the NTA and the government can mould and increase without it costing as much as it would for Luas and for train as well, where it appears they would have to employ more security, for instance. You know, buses kind of look after themselves in ways. I mean, OK, we've all been on buses at a certain time of our lives where maybe something would have kicked off, but there does seem to be greater potential for it happening on the likes of the Dart or on the Luas. So I think that's where the hesitancy is in increasing that particular
Why would
service.
that be?
I don't know, Brian. I mean, I think it's because some of these, the carriages are bigger, space, more stuff can develop, whereas maybe a driver can keep an eye on what's happening. Maybe some of these buses almost, depending on how many people are on it, can kind of self-police themselves as well.
But are taxi drivers in Dublin and other parts of the country saying there's enough taxis? Because there's certainly, if you're in town on a Saturday night, there is not enough taxis. They don't pick you up. They decide when to pick you up. I saw on Saturday night a taxi driver going to 4 sets of groups, stopping and saying, no, 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 I'll pick you up. Are they allowed to do that?
I think they are, because it's down to they can say, like, listen, I feel...
It's their safety as well.
But they were the same groups of people.
But you might look at someone and go, that person looks like they're going to throw up in my cab, that person looks like they're going to kick off.
But the same groups of people then that they're deciding, no, I only want to go here.
It's like
I only want to go there.
Vetting the door as well, saying, not tonight, lads, and then with the next person going, yeah, you can come on through. It's similar. I think there is a point when you said, Muireann, like that there, maybe you said as well, well, you said it, Muireann, actually, that taxi drivers are saying there's enough out there. If we didn't have this condensed bottleneck, like you said, of everybody coming onto the streets at once, I think it would free up the taxis that are there. A lot of taxis complain.
In fairness to Neil now, it's all night now. It's all night. It's not just at 2 in the morning. I go home early now, and I leave places early to make sure I can get a taxi. And still at 1 o'clock in Dublin, you can't get a taxi.
Well, listen, it can't all be solved. Like I said, taxis are one thing, buses are the next, opening hours are another. It's not going to be one thing that fixes the transport issues, but little things. And, you know, we did ask for temporary additions to the closing time. So the reform is hopefully going to come in by the end of the year. But if there had been a temporary fix, even an additional hour that would give... Just to go back to the night links as well, not all of them run every hour. I mean, the problem for that is because they don't have 2 drivers on these routes. They only have 1 driver. So if it's leaving town at 12 o'clock and gets to
back in and does the same
its destination, and this is the other problem about making these profitable as well. When that driver comes back in, they're not picking up anybody.
But also people have left the industry, all of these industries, because they've got better jobs. It's as simple as that. They can work during the day. Listen, we know that you're on the task force and you're dealing with the Minister for Justice for these opening hours. We'd love to know about you, about whether you go out. Of course, there's a cost of living crisis, whether it's too expensive for you to go out or if you can't get home at night, regardless of where you are in the country. This isn't just about Dublin, it's about everywhere. And I know in Kerry, it's a nightmare to try to get home at night. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Dr. Brian Caulfield, for coming in and chatting to us. Our expert on transport, and Sunil Sharp from Give Us the Night.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Lots more coming on Ireland AM. It is time now to take a look at today's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Government Climate Plan in Legal Challenge. It says that the scheme to reduce energy consumption faces legal threat from the oil industry as Ireland must make a specific amount of energy savings within the next decade.
Sales of €1 million homes explode in first half of year. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. It goes on to say that the number of residential Dublin property deals valued at €1 million or more has soared by 44%.
The Examiner leads with fresh calls for ban on evicting renters. A fresh ban on evictions has been called for as the number of renters being forced for their homes by their landlords has more than doubled in the last 12 months.
The Herald's front page headline, missing man found shot dead in flat. A murder investigation has been launched after the discovery of a body of Sean McCarthy, who Gardaí believe died as a result of a drug death shooting.
The Sun also leads with that missing Sean found shot dead.
The Mirror and the Star both use the same headline, lured to his death.
Finally, the Daily Mail goes with millions at risk of power cuts this winter. An energy expert says Ireland is the worst prepared country in Europe for an energy crisis and that the possibility of rolling blackouts this winter could be catastrophic.
Really, it's quite frightening that, isn't it? To think of how bleak it could be. But listen, the sun is shining for the minute, Alan.
The sun is shining and directly
let's move on from that.
And directly over there, I don't know, something's been crushed. If you can hear that, there's a lot of noise over there.
No,
So
I don't think we can hear it. I don't think we can hear it.
All right,
And
okay.
we were talking about the public transport crisis at the moment, especially at weekends.
Yes.
And where people just can't get home. And lots of people getting in touch with us this morning, Maria. I agree with Alan. I was sort of saying about taxi men. They're pulling in and asking where you're going, and if it's not far enough, they just drive off and leave you.
I mean, there's only one, I know in Monaghan, there's one taxi driver literally to take people out of the town one direction, yeah.
And he's going all night.
So he's in a bus and everybody hops into the bus and he drops us off as we go along.
But that was, I remember one night in Kerry, I was like, oh, we're walking 9 kilometres home. Like, it was as simple as that, where there was 9 of us and we were just like, oh, we're walking home now because there was no taxi. Try living outside of Dublin. 2 buses going into town a week. Tuesday, it comes at 11 and it's back at 1. And then on a Tuesday and a Saturday, that's the days that they have it. That is our public transport. You have to ring Athlone to book a bus first. Galway bus doesn't go from Longford on a Sunday or Bank Holiday Monday, but on the website it says that it does. When I asked at the station, the man laughed at me and said, you wouldn't want to go by the website to find out what time the buses are going.
That's scandalous.
Living in the Stone Age here is what this person
You can't be doing
says.
that. If it says it's running at the weekend and running on the website.
Well, I'd love to know from, you know, we live in Dublin and I get to walk home most nights, so it's fine. But an awful lot of people who live outside of Dublin, there is no going out, because what's the point? Because you cannot get home. 0896 111 111.
A lot of people are thinking of that in Dublin as well. There's no point in going out because of the hassle. And that's what we're saying. It's killing nightlife in town. It's killing restaurants. Well, at the moment, I don't think it's killing restaurants. A lot of restaurants are very busy.
They are, but the prices are going up and city centres, it's a tough place to be. Let us know exactly what you think. We'd love to hear from you as well. We'll try and read through as many texts as we can. Now, coming up after the break, we're going to meet the Belfast man speaking up for the often unheard men seeking help for eating disorders. That's coming up next.
Welcome back. Now, high-profile male celebrities like Freddie Flintoff and Ed Sheeran, they have shared their experiences of having eating disorders, but in men, they are still underdiagnosed and undertreated.
Belfast man Sean Loughran has written about seeking help for his eating disorder, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Sean. Come and speak to us live from Vancouver this morning. Sean, could you take us back to when this first started and your eating disorder was triggered? I believe it was around the age of 11. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, I grew up dancing competitively, so really from around the age of about 6. So I think the stage was pretty much set, so to speak. There were already some certain predetermining factors at play. You know, I struggled with perfectionism and body dysmorphia really from an early age. I think the major change that I remember the most was when I transitioned to high school. Around then, I was struggling with my sexuality. I thought that I might be gay, and I really wasn't sure. I think one thing that I did know was that dancing would make me a target at school. I was going to an all-boys school, so I quit. And after some time, I realized that I was gay, and it was a very repressive environment. That led to a lot of rejection from a lot of people that I knew. Around that time, there was a government initiative to shut down a lot of pro-anorexia websites. And I had access to a computer in my room, and I didn't really have a community or anyone that I could turn to talk about what I was going through. And found myself seeking out those websites and found myself seeking out a community online. And really, as much as I found a community, that really drove me deeper into an eating disorder and really set off what was already kind of happening in real life.
So while you were looking for some sort of a connection, you found it in a place that was quite dangerous for yourself. So you're going through your teenage years. You said that you found school very hard, you're being bullied. So how did it manifest itself? Was it as we would think, that you just weren't eating, that you were binging and purging?
That's right. It really started off as I'd given up dancing, which in itself was a way to kind of control my body and my physique. And when I gave that up, it turned into kind of plain old dieting. And Eventually, once I saw that connection on those websites, obviously I learned about other ways to control my weight. So that led to self-induced vomiting and use of laxatives. And eventually, after about a year, I realized, maybe I have an eating disorder, and that's what led me to go into the doctor after a year.
So you built up the strength and the courage to go and see the doctor to speak about this. What age were you at that point, and what was the response from the doctor?
That's right. I was about 12 when I went to the doctor, and explained, I think I have an eating disorder. I'm engaging in these symptoms. And his response was to check my weight. And at that point, my weight was still within the normal range. They use the BMI, the body mass index. So regardless of the symptoms, they fell on deaf ears because my weight was considered normal. I tripped the wire of a clinical diagnosis, and therefore, in his eyes, I wasn't seen as sick enough for diagnosis and the help that I needed at the time. And, the BMI is a tool that is used by healthcare practitioners globally, really, to determine how sick someone might be when presenting to a healthcare worker or practitioner. And it really doesn't take into account other factors such as muscle mass, bone density, or overall body composition, or race or gender differences. So I really slipped under the wire of one uneducated healthcare practitioner, and that's really affected how I see myself and my body.
This is the thing, you were 12 years old and you had the maturity to go, there's something wrong here. And then you slipped through this net. So when you were told, no, you're within the normal range of BMI, did that drive you on further to be like, okay, well, I'm going to, was that like a target for you then?
It was, absolutely. I mean, he assumed that it was a phase of adolescent depression, and he actually recommended some exercise to help with what he assumed was depression, to help lift me out of that depression. So that led to much more compulsive exercise throughout my teenage years. And really, it took a long time before I felt like I could reach out for professional help again. It took another 14 years.
You had a real love of fashion, and it's the industry that you were working in very shortly after that. Do you think that fashion, and I think you bought your first Vogue magazine at the age of 10, do you think the unrealistic images and the perfectionism that you see in these magazines, maybe that caused you almost to go down a worse path?
Not so much in my teenage years, but I think I've worked at the intersection of fashion now for over 10 years in some capacity. And now I'm much more of an observer, writing about fashion and sort of seeing it from the outside. But the industry definitely had a huge effect on me and my eating disorder. I moved to Paris when I was about 20, and I started working with luxury brands and supermodels, and I was on location for Vogue and Dior. And, that was the job that I'd always dreamt of for my whole career. And eventually those patterns of perfectionism and, I'm not good enough, and there's a lot of critique in the industry coming from other people, and, it really started to weigh me down, and I really started to feel lonely and out of touch in that world, and I turned to those behaviours that had protected me and kept me safe, those eating disorder behaviours.
Sean, things got bad, and when you decided to seek treatment again, to seek professional help, where you were put into a clinic for yourself, things were bad. You were spending $200 a day on food in order to binge and purge it, and your mental health got you were at the end of your tether, essentially.
Yeah, I really was. And I think it was very different this time around because I was an adult and, I'm no longer under the care of my parents. So really it is up to me to seek the care. And I think what really surprised me was, it took a lot to actually seek help. And this time, going out on my own to seek help, what I was very surprised about was a lot of the clinics and a lot of the treatment centres only accepted women. So that was another barrier that I faced being an adult now. seeking treatment and seeking help, it was, okay, well, I'm a male. And then I doubted myself again this time. It's like, well, do I really actually have an eating disorder? You know, do I deserve treatment? You know, so it actually took a lot of time to try to find somewhere to treat me. And eventually I did. I found a treatment center out of the country in New York, and I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. But when I got there, you know, it was an inpatient psychiatric unit for eating disorders, and I was the only man there. So it was quite, yeah.
I can't believe that. You know, it's really quite frightening, Sean. Whenever we mentioned there the likes of Freddie Flintoff, the English cricketer, talking about it, Ed Sheeran as well, and yourself speaking so well about this. And you spoke about the recovery being almost like a grieving process. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I've described recovery as a grieving process because, you know, I've been in full-time treatment now for 3 years, and that means, you know, stepping away from my full-time job and just being in treatment full-time. And I've lived with my eating disorder for longer than I've lived without it. And I've learned through treatment and therapy that my eating disorder has served a big purpose in my life. It's helped me to cope with past trauma. It's helped me to dissociate and just to distract and to numb. And, you know, when entering recovery, those protective mechanisms, they start to fall away, and those maladaptive coping skills that I've relied on for so much of my life, they're gone now. So it's really a relearning process. How do I start to live my life without all of that? So it really is a grieving process to relive your life without what you've become so accustomed to.
You said there that it was that you questioned whether you had an eating disorder because you were the one man, and then of course you're surrounded by women who their physical symptoms are like their fertility has stopped. You know, they're no longer getting periods, and you're hearing all of this. But according to the Irish Medical Journal, during March to September, 40% of hospital admissions for eating disorders were males, higher than any previous year. So this is something that men are finally starting to talk about. I don't think it's new. I'm sure it's been around, it's been around as long as it's been around for women, probably just not seen as much. So Sean, if there is someone who's listening to you right now, who is a man, what would you like to say to them?
You know, I think being the only man, you know, it can be very challenging, and I think entering a treatment space and being the only man can be very challenging. But I think I recently wrote a piece for the Washington Post, and since I've done that, so many men and families have reached out and connected with me, and it's just so reaffirming to know that there's so many other men out there. And just one thing I want to do is, for those other men listening, is just to highlight that we do get eating disorders, and, you know, no two individuals with eating disorders will ever look the same, and that it's never too late to ask for help. And, you know, recovery is non-linear, and it looks different for everybody. And it's never too late to reach out for resources and help. And, you know, if one practitioner is uneducated, you know, advocate for yourself. And, you know, I found in recovery I have had to advocate for myself a lot. So that's really important.
And you've mentioned since that article in the Washington Post, so many people have reached out with you online. And if people want to do that, they can get in touch with you at Sean_Wrights. And of course, your website is menseatingdisordersupport.com. And as well, bodywise.ie for people who are seeking help with eating disorders. Sean Loughran, thank you so much for talking to us this morning and sharing your story. I think so many people will get so much from that. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
You're very welcome back. Now our Derek loves to get out and about, and today he's embracing the petrol head within down in Mondello Racetrack. Derek, oh, I am dead jealous of you this morning. Look, the sun's shining and a couple of beauties behind you.
Green with envy, I'd say. Tommy, big smile on my face here this morning. The sun is shining down here in Mondello in Kildare. Leo, vintage Formula 1 racing is back.
Yeah, we've got a big weekend ahead of us, Derek, at Mondello Park, the Carol Nash Historic Festival here. We've got loads of stuff for the whole family to do. We've got live music, street food, and of course we've got some of these wonderful cars.
Now, talk us through our first car here this morning, Leo. What a beauty.
This is a Mark 1 Escort, called a Bubble Arch Mark 1 Escort because of the big arches on the side of it, obviously. It was gifted to us by the late John Campion. We're going to name a corner in his honour this weekend, but it will be driven by Billy Coleman. You can see he's previously signed the car here. Billy Coleman, probably Ireland's most famous rally driver.
What is the top speed on that now?
Well, it's a rally car, so top speed is not crucial, but probably in excess of 120 miles an hour. If we're talking kilometres, of course, Derek, in modern day, 200 kilometres an hour.
200, so there's a fair bit of power in her, lad.
Lots of acceleration.
And what's
the
litre in that one then?
That's a 2-litre engine in that one.
Now, talk us through Lola. We love Lola.
Well, this is a 1960s sports racing car, so a very potent bit of machinery. And in the 60s, this would have been state of the art. As you can see, driver safety wasn't as important probably as it is these days, but it's got a 5-litre V8 Chevrolet engine in the back. 5 times the size of your average road car, Derek.
Like, in all honesty, how would you keep it filled like?
Well, it's probably gallons per mile instead of miles per gallon in this, but fuel economy wasn't a priority back in the 60s.
Okay. Now, in terms of the worth of the car then?
Probably in excess of $500,000, and that's probably conservative quote. It's a very, very expensive motor car, yeah.
Okay, and the top speed in her then?
Oh, probably in miles an hour, 180, 190, 300 kilometres an hour. It would be very, very fast car, yeah, it really is. And incredibly, it's road legal.
It's road legal?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the most comfortable car there on the road.
So we could actually spin down the M7?
We can go to Centre and get a coffee if you want afterwards, yeah.
I'm up for that. All right, Leo, thank you very much for chatting to us here this morning. OK, pop over here to this MG 500. This is an absolute beauty. We're saying hello to Nicole. She is Ireland's... you're the fastest racing driver in the country, aren't you?
Well, I'll take that compliment anyway.
Take that compliment. Nicole, you are a woman in a man's world. What's so difficult for women to break through into the sport?
I suppose we see kids start off in karting in order to try to get to Formula 1, and for I suppose every 10 boys there's probably 2 girls, so it kind of filters out when they get to the top levels of the sport. There's probably there's more of a chance of the male getting through to Formula 1, but thankfully to organisations like Formula Female and FIA Women in Sport, there are more girls coming into the sport, and hopefully in the near future
and
we'll
the
have
W
one.
Series as well has been great for women. Jamie Chadwick, of course, a big female racing driver as well. She's broken through into the W Series.
Huge, yeah, and I mean they're racing alongside Formula 1 now, so we're really getting some big high profile stuff on the women in sports. That's great.
But if you want to talk about Formula 1, right, there's only been 5 Formula 1 female racing drivers in the history of the sport. We have to go back to Desiree Wilson back in the 1980s in the UK.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think like that. There probably should be a Formula 1 champion woman now at this stage, but hopefully in the near future, as I say, with the likes of the W Series, we will have one coming through.
And you've a lot of racing coming up this weekend as well. You're going to be on the track?
Yeah, I'm going to be racing this MGA this weekend, so it's an absolute beauty, and I'm going to be taking the Lola out for some demo laps around the track as well.
And top speed on this one then?
Probably about 100 mile an hour. We're about to find out now, I'm sure.
We're about to find out. Okay, so we can get the helmets on here. Right, here we go now. All right, Tommy, are you looking at this now? Tommy, are you jealous? We're getting... Okay, right. There we go. We got our seatbelts here. Hold on now. Okay, off we go. Fire her up there. Start her up there. Okay, we got the seatbelts here. All right. This woman is a tip woman, by the way. A Limerick man. We're heading down the M7. Are you ready to go? See you later, Tommy. Woo!
Look.
Oh, I love it. I'm so jealous. I actually have him tell him we're in here. I have a convertible, like a green Beetle from 1971. And it's my pride and joy. Hello, you're welcome back.
Hello. It's so cool. I actually want to show a picture of it in the next hour.
I love it.
Oh, it's class.
Well, I'd say its top speed is going miles an hour, about 40 miles an hour. So I don't think I'm going to be racing this weekend.
But it's like Ireland green.
Oh, I love it. Anyway, listen, there's nothing... When the sun comes out, can't beat it. Anyway, thank you for that, Derek. I'm dead jealous. Let's see what Alan has got coming up next.
Be dead jealous of this too.
I'm telling you, yeah, Derek.
It's all the fun stuff.
Oh, no, but never to be seen again.
No, gone. Yeah. That would be the last footage.
Yeah. Up next, we're going to find out the best laptops on offer for college students. We're going to be back after this break. Thanks for staying with us. Now, whether you're heading back to college or just in need of an upgrade, our resident gadget expert, Colin Baker, is here with advice on buying a laptop. Good morning to Colin.
Good morning, Alan.
Well, just saying, I'm just such a technophobe with these things, but it is important to be buying, I know that, the right laptop.
We have a kind of a line called Your Mission. What is your mission with a piece of equipment?
Okay.
Now, you use your iPad here because you're jumping straight into text, you're checking emails and whatnot, whereas a lot of people need a proper workflow.
Yes.
So they're writing documents, they're doing research, they're maybe designing something. There's a lot going on at the same time. And the hub of your activity in college and school nowadays, the absolute hub, is your laptop. So it's so important you get the right one.
And then if you haven't got the money, a refurbished one is always... You've been talking about this for years about
Well,
buying a refurbished one because they can be very good.
Well, it's not just an ethical decision. We have... The e-waste pile globally is bigger than any other type of waste we produce as humans. So we have too many gadgets and too much tech. The problem is as well, a lot of tech is designed to last only kissing time, a year or two. Now,
this one here is a refurbished one.
Exactly. Now, there's professional grade equipment like this Lenovo X270. This type of equipment is designed to endure far heavier duty. So this type of thing will last you up to 10 years.
Is that
so
you?
it has a long life.
Is that you on that?
I'm not sure, is it? It is, actually. Yeah, that was our DeLorean day a few years back. Yeah, that was me as Doc Brown.
I was looking at you there going, I know that face.
I know that face. The hair is weird, though. But this type of thing, that starts at €399. Now, that's over €1,000 worth of hardware. But once they're factory refurbished, not second-hand, but actually refurbished at factory level, they live on for a great number of years beyond that. So it means that the punter can get a really good value, but very hard-wearing, feature-rich machine. And that type of thing, it's enduring.
Don't be doing that. We don't encourage
duty.
you to do that at home.
I'm not saying you should, but the point is it can last.
I know,
and it's reliable and it's robust.
If they go into someone like you, just ask them about that and check it out because
it's a
well
really,
worth it.
really good way to go. Now, Chromebooks...
The Chrome, are they laptops?
People often ask me this. Chromebooks, you're locked... Imagine being locked inside Google Chrome. Now, there's a lot in there, and the vast majority of people spend 90% of their time in Google Chrome. That's what a Chromebook is. It doesn't run Windows. It's not a regular laptop. It's not a Mac or a Windows machine. It's Chrome only. Now, what's the advantage? I've never seen a virus on a Chromebook because it doesn't run a regular operating system. Not that it can't get it, but it's very rare. They're also very good value. This type of thing is $349. It's touchscreen, it's robust, it's quick, it's got a long battery life, and a lot of schools, they prescribe these.
Right.
Their entire platform, all their information, all their resources are within Chrome.
But it is limited, so you have to know what you want
You
it
have to know what you're getting, and
so,
it's usually the school that prescribes this type of thing.
So if
anyway.
you're going to college and if you're doing graphic design, video or music production, something
What's
like
the
this
difference?
is not going to really
no
do.
Use.
So
no
you
use.
need to go to something like this.
It's a different caliber of machine, and what it has specifically is what's called a dedicated graphics card.
Okay.
Now that's what handles the greater workload of that type of graphics work. So if you're into design or video editing or music editing or anything of that creative nature, you need that dedicated graphics card. That means you're going to get a better processor, more RAM, more
But you will
resources
see the jump in
general.
price. This is
Big
like
time,
from $349, this will be
you're talking
€900.
minimum 900, €1,000. You're not getting away with a heavy graphics machine with much less than 1,000. That one there is €899. Again, that one is factory refurbished. That's a major hobby horse of mine, getting better, more robust, more reliable, more long life machines. Like that's about £2,000 worth of hardware for about €900.
Okay.
Now,
Apple or Windows?
Yeah, big thing. I've seen fist fights over this argument, Apple versus Windows. I find nowadays that there's not a huge difference in terms of their ability. If you spend €1,500 on a Mac, you're likely to get the same functions for about 40–50% less. So it's better value to go through Windows, but at the same time, cosmetically and in terms of the way Mac works, you love your iPhone.
Yeah, and like Carl has a big Apple Mac at home because of music and the stuff that he's able to create
people love
doing
Mac
on it.
because it's really well laid out in terms of its usability and it looks fantastic.
Right.
Now, another question is, can you use a tablet?
So lots of people then would have a tablet and they'll be going, well, surely I can do all my coursework on this.
Yeah,
Yes
it's a
or
good
no?
question. I would say absolutely not.
Not?
Yeah, we've
Okay.
had an awful lot of people come into us with tablets who said, I can't do this, I can't do that. And they're kind of annoyed and frustrated with the limitations. Now, that said, as I said, you use tablets here on air because they're quick, they're easy, there's no boot up time, and all you're looking at is text. So for certain types of people, work and studies, maybe a tablet is enough for a bit of research and browsing. But if you're actually engaging, working and trying to type out for hours on end, you're going to need a bigger screen, a bigger keyboard and more resources, and that's a laptop.
And what about protecting it then? If you're going to spend £1,000, £2,000 on it, you want some protection on it.
Well, certainly, look, on both sides, you need decent security. So the free built-in security on Windows is pretty decent. But there's a thing called Panda Antivirus, which is about €50 a year. That's the best security we've seen. But also just wrap it well. If you're bringing this in and out to college every day, make sure you've purchased a decent case. I also wanted to mention getting your own laptop and your old laptop fixed, serviced, upgraded. Lots of people say, well, look, my old laptop, it's an old basher, it's a hand-me-down from my brother, it's gone really slow, maybe I need a new machine. But think about it, maybe you don't. This one is 9 years old and it came into us, battery was dead, the thing was barely starting up. We stuck a new battery in it, a solid-state drive like that.
That looks
Bob's your
brand
uncle.
new.
It's like brand new now, but the machine came in, wasn't working at all. So you can service and upgrade a machine, a lot of machines, quite inexpensively, for a lot less than the price of replacing it. And then you're also doing the environment a good as well.
Exactly. And if people want to find out more?
Yeah, backfromthefuture.ie as usual. Or even email me. I'm really into answering questions on this
Especially
kind of
if they need some help on it. Thank you so much for that. Now on the way after 9, Substar Bill Fellows, Fashion and Food. Join us after the break. On you. We're giving out about taxis. We're giving out about taxis.
We're not giving out about taxis.
No, they are giving out about taxis, actually.
Excuse me, the taxi situation and how hard it must be on taxi drivers because there's messages here. I'm a taxi man. I'm a taxi man. Don't even start. I'm a taxi man in Dundalk. There are less taxis running late on the weekends. I am always busy, but I've noticed that lots of my regulars, mature couples from outside the town mainly, who I used to see all the time before COVID, just aren't going out anymore as they worry about how they're going to get home. Surely the lack of options is going to hit the restaurants and the pubs.
See, this is what we were saying, and we're saying in Dublin especially, and then we live in a town in the southeast, and all the registered taxis have HSE and school contracts, so they don't do nights or weekends. Twice now we've had to pass on going out with family and friend celebrations as there's just no way to get home after midnight or 12:30. I used to use Uber and Lyfts in the States, but I never had a safety issue, and obviously we were saying...
But that's what I say about Uber. I mean, Uber in rural Ireland, for instance, anybody then could get an Uber licence, and if they're free at the weekend, they go out and do a few drops. It would be easy.
But taxi men don't want that.
But sure, they're not working. There's not enough taxis out there. I mean,
Well, I
you were
suppose in
saying
the
this is a
country-
Dublin thing,
Well,
but
there
this
is
is not.
no,
This
the
is all
country thing
over the
is...
country.
Yeah, no, it's worse.
But there are whistleblowers in relation to Uber and their working practices.
There's
and the
whistleblowers for everything,
No,
Brian.
and their lobbying and in relation to what they're doing and how they're treating their workers and the money that they're
I
taking
think there's
from
a lot
them.
of good. There's a lot of good could come of it. If you're thinking about in areas all over the country where people can't get into town and they can't get home again, we have to find
It
something.
doesn't have to be Uber. It can be done in a different way that it can be done with a regular taxi.
But the concept, like some kind of concept where there would be drivers who are registered to go and do that, like if you have an Uber.
And don't have to go and register for a full, proper taxi driver's licence,
Tommy,
which
the
takes
problem
ages,
is
costs a lot of money.
You're free now as well in Dublin, and
But it was
it's like that.
deregulated.
And they just keep cancelling on you as
Yeah.
well.
I mean,
they
so-
go,
so-
oh yeah, you'll be there in 1 minute, and then it goes, oh sorry, he's cancelled.
I'm very happy I have my mother when I'm at home in Limerick and Kerry. Well, now, to be fair, Limerick is handy.
Would you call on your mum, like if you can't get a taxi home?
Yeah.
Would your mum come and collect you? Yeah, no problem.
100%, all the time.
See,
Thank
I've
you.
never had that.
And I'm an
that-
adult.
Does that happen to you at home? Do you have to phone your parents or some or loved one? They have to come and collect you. And
God bless them.
is that what happens now, where you're more reliant on that type of thing?
And they tell you, find your own way home.
Oh, wait, 9-6-1-1-1-1. Welcome.
Now, after the break, Ted Lasso star Bill Fellows on why his family say he's made it now. Forget about Ted Lasso. He's in Corrie. We'll see you after the break.
Our next guest has worked with the likes of Olivia Colman, Pierce Brosnan and Jessica Chastain, but one of his most recent roles is in the Emmy Award-winning, fantastic, feel-good, gorgeous series, Ted Lasso.
Now, he's also taken the cobbles by storm as one of Coronation Street's newest residents. And good morning to you, Bill Fellows. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Good morning to you both.
Thank you for joining us this morning. And when you look at all those people you've worked with, and then when the big Ted Lasso hit, 20 Emmy nominations, but then your family say that you've made it because you're in Coronation Street.
That's exactly right. You know, my family all from Middlesbrough, where I was born, and they were kind of brought up on Coronation Street, and they absolutely love it. So finally, yeah, they were really pleased when I finally got a part in Corrie. Forget all the other stuff. But, yeah, that's fair enough. Each to their own, isn't it? You know, that's what they love to watch.
And you love to watch it as well. You know, it's a part of all of our lives.
Yeah.
But when you got on the cobbles, you started calling the characters by not their real names.
Oh, yeah.
You were like...
You can't help it. I mean, the one I had real trouble with, and he's an absolutely gorgeous man, is Michael Lavelle, and I kept calling him Kevin. Yeah. And he was great about it. He said, "Don't worry about it, don't worry about it." And eventually, I got it right. But yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's an amazing place when you walk on the set and you go on the Rovers for the first time. It's quite an amazing place because, like you said, I was brought up on the days of, I'm old enough to have Albert Tatlock, Ina Sharples, Len Fairclough, all those kind of people, and it's such an Elsie Tanner. So yeah, it was quite something to walk on the street for the first time.
Because it is with the new set that they've built up there in Media City. I mean, it's huge now. It used to be a small, but it's such a huge set and it's so realistic.
I think I've been told, I might be wrong on this, so don't shoot me, but it's the biggest permanent set in Europe, I think.
Wow.
And it is amazing. When you walk on there, the cobbles and everything, it just feels so. I mean, I was genuinely brought up in a street like that in Middlesbrough, and it's virtually identical. We didn't have cobbles, we had tarmac, but the back alley and everything, exactly like that. So it brought back memories for me when I was young.
And then when you go into Coronation Street, such an iconic television show, but you're portraying something, you're playing a homeless person. So what is that like for you? Because it is a crisis that's facing every country in the world.
Absolutely. Well, my character started off. You find out in the story why he was homeless, but he starts off as homeless. And the thing that struck me about it was that I got a lot of comments saying, "Well, you don't look very dirty or whatever." But if you actually, look into it, there are places for homeless people to get washed. So they're not this cliche look that they all look like dirty tramps and all that. Some of them are normal people. Some people even have jobs and they're still homeless. Which is kind of shocking, isn't it? Really, because it's all about the shelter, I think.
Yeah.
But I think we what I like about Corrie, we didn't preach it because we did one thing about where I talk about the supermarkets having spikes or whatever, so you can't sleep near there on the floor. But we didn't preach it. We just said it, and by saying it, I think a lot of people were affected by it. Thought, oh, that's. We've got to look how we treat people. Yeah. It's very hard, isn't it? Very hard.
Yeah. Very hard. And of course, we found out on Friday, and it was exposed that Stu, your character, was charged for murdering a young girl earlier in his life, in his past. And this was exposed. And poor Yasmin, I mean, come on, give the woman a break. I mean, God love her. Poor Yasmin, she's been through the mill and now her new love, and we find this out.
Because the ex was harassing her, gaslighting her, abusing her, and now this.
And now this. I mean, so were you surprised that this was a darker side to the character?
Yeah, I mean, I knew something was going to happen, that he'd been a little bit of a past, but it was such a big one. I mean, 27 years he spent in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And the girl he allegedly murdered, he was having an affair with. So you can see why. I mean, he wasn't exactly squeaky clean. He was having an affair with a young waitress where he was working behind his wife's back and a kid at home. So he isn't squeaky clean. But that's so he was forced to confess. So the big story now, that's if people believe me. I mean, I might be lying here, but they're going to try to clear. I'm going to try to clear my name. That's what the name.
I feel like you just gave it away there. He's completely innocent.
He's completely innocent.
But you know
you don't know.
I'm my character.
Your character. So he is denying the murder, and poor Yasmin. We've got a sneak peek of what's coming up this week on Coronation Street. Let's take a look.
I'm sorry I ran away.
Save your apologies. I only came to say, how dare you get Kelly to do your dirty work for you, sending her to me like some Shakespearean messenger.
I didn't ask her to do anything.
I will never forgive you for lying to me, and I will never forgive you for lying to my family. You knew how vulnerable I was, and you took advantage.
Look, Yasmin, I swear I didn't. I'm just sorry I wasn't honest all along.
You may have filled Kelly's head with your nonsense, but you don't fool me.
It's the truth.
You confessed to it, Stu. You held your hands up and you said you did it.
Yeah, I know, but...
Even your daughter thinks you did it.
I mean, Yasmin, love, I think stay out of a relationship for a while.
Yeah,
Just take a break.
Yeah. Concentrate on running the restaurant.
well, my character certainly brought trouble to the family. And that's from the word go. He's been telling white lies and everything. But as you see on there, I mean, I do protest my innocence all the time. That's the big thing. One of the shocks which Ian told me was that he was in prison for 27 years because he never said he did it. And unless you in England, I don't know what it's like in Ireland. Unless you say you're guilty, you're not going to get parole.
Yeah.
So he could have got out earlier. But he insisted on his innocence.
Yeah, because you haven't admitted to it or repented for the crime that you've been convicted of. That's certainly it.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on in Coronation Street. Of course, you can see that weeknights right here on Virgin Media 1. But your life in the world of acting, you have done so much. And I suppose I've been watching you in Ted Lasso, which has emerged in a world of such harsh and TV that's really, hard to watch. And then here comes Ted Lasso that was just a piece of joy. So what was it like being on the set with all of these people, because you play a former manager and then you actually got to be a pundit with like Jeff Sterling and all them?
That was a highlight, man. I mean, I'm a big football fan. I support Middlesbrough. And the first episode, I mean, I'm the original manager they sack to bring in Ted Lasso, and she wants Ted Lasso to ruin the club. So I thought that was it for me. I thought I wasn't in anymore. And so when I was back for the second series and I became a pundit, to work with Jeff Stelling and Chris Gamora, Paul Merson as well as coming in, that was a joy for me. To sit on that studio, Soccer Saturday was brilliant. I loved it. And it's a great show, actually. I mean, I don't think anyone expected it to be such a massive hit. But then when you watch it, it's so well written and so well acted, isn't it?
And was that what was as much a surprise for ye? It has been so successful. Obviously, it's on a streamer, but it's got all of these awards. And honestly, I walk away with a massive smile on my face. So what is it like on set when you're like, lads, we're doing something good here?
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, the very first series, and I was only right at the beginning. No one had any idea. I would say that actually a few people were saying, football never quite works on television, but it's not really about football, is it? It's about the kindness and the decency. And I think because it came out during COVID, maybe that's what we wanted. We wanted some feel-good stuff about a decent man. So, yeah, I think it's a surprise. But I think most things are. I mean, I had one episode in the very first series of Downton Abbey, and I remember chatting there, having a cup of tea. No one thought that was going to be a phenomenon. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, both in Money in one episode, and I'm not a massive part of Ted Lasso, but I'm just honoured to be part of it, really.
Yeah. But I mean, all the things that you have done in your acting career, but I love the way that you may not have fallen into acting, but you had to take a class on how to be a gentleman. Tell me about that.
It's absolutely true. Well, first of all, I went to a secondary modern school called Hustler, which is a strange name in itself. I mean, American actors, when I say, and that is absolutely true. It's named after a guy called Sir John Hustler. So yeah, that was the first thing. And then I was messing about in a French class, and eventually I was never a fighter, but I was quite mischievous and a bit lippy with the teachers. So eventually I got thrown out into this class called How to Be a Gentleman with some really hard young lads. I mean, there were some tough guys there. And it was run by this guy called Bert Woolley, who subsequently got an MBE for his work with underprivileged kids. And we had to learn how to. He told us that we had to stand up when a lady enters the room. I mean, this is 1974 or whatever. So it was about manners. And he was great. And then as I got to know him, he said, well, I run a club with a guy called Dennis McMahon, Saturday morning club at Middlesbrough Little Theatre. And why didn't you come along there? And I did. So thank goodness I messed about in that French lesson.
I swear to God.
Isn't it just crazy how things happen?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely,
look at you
mate.
now. And we can see you on this storyline obviously continues on Coronation Street, and we'll be watching all this week and for the foreseeable. Bill, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Right, well, it was an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
It was a pleasure for us as well. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Now, stylist Laura Waitman is all about cutting down on the luggage and washing today. Isn't that it for the holidays?
That's it. You know, get your wash on now if you're going on holidays in September, and you might just be ready.
You know what the best thing is ever? Washing when you're on holidays and coming home with it clean.
I can't say I'm that organised.
I love it. Lads, it's the dream. You come home and you're like, everything is clean. OK, we're not doing that right now. We're not about washing. We're about looks. So what we're going to do is kind of decreasing the amount of things that you're wearing so that they're more versatile.
Exactly. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is we bring too much on holidays and you don't wear it. You just don't wear it. I'm guilty of it. And one of the biggest crimes is shoes, because you want to bring every shoes because we have this need to want to have choice with us, right? So how do we kind of cater for that need but also make sure that we have everything that we want and we don't overpack? So a couple of things I like are some neutral basics, capsule pieces, easy to wear dresses.
What does capsule pieces mean? Something that will work with loads of other things?
Exactly. So multi-wear is always something I live by through styling and also through packing.
Okay.
So if we start with, let's say, this lovely little cardigan, cover up. You'll need something for the evening. You'll need something that is versatile to go over anything you have. A dress like this is perfect for packing up really small because it's a really, really light fabric. So you can imagine you can roll this up really tightly. It'll fit into a really small corner and you have this lovely dressy dress. But do you know what's so lovely about this as well? It's actually got built-in support around the bust line.
I saw that.
Which I love. And sometimes slip dresses and summer dresses like that don't have that. And it's one of the nicest qualities about this too. And then you can cover it up with a cardi. You can wear it on its own. It's so many different ways you can wear that dress, which I love. And the colour just jumps out too. For bags, another thing that you bring too many of, aside from your carry-on, if you're bringing a beach bag, the easiest thing you can do is buy one that folds up.
Yeah.
So not a big structured straw bag, something like this that has like a rope effect to it.
Okay.
So it rolls up very, very small, which I absolutely love. But you can also take it on the plane as your handbag if you wanted to as well.
I was just about to say you absolutely can. Now let's go with the shoes.
Okay, first of all, I would never recommend bringing a high heel on on holiday, like as in a stiletto or a block heel or anything like that. You'll never wear them, and
You
your feet
won't.
swell. That's it. So wedges, ideal for casual and dressy wear too.
Wedges, espadrilles, that sort of a vibe.
That sort of thing. And I think they actually look lovely with everything. And by investing in a good pair, it'll last for a long time as well.
Lovely.
So next up, Ursula
here.
is in the travel outfit. Another thing, right? I always have this view that I will look fabulous walking through an airport, and it never happens. Especially at 4 o'clock in the morning. So rule number one is wear the heaviest things.
Yes.
So that includes denim, heavier jumpers or knits or anything like that. But what I do love is the layering effect when you're traveling. So you want to be comfortable but not overheat.
Yeah.
So shirts, bodysuits, t-shirts. The shirt will double up as a cover up on the beach. It looks great with shorts and your bikini or your swimwear. It looks absolutely lovely. So they're so versatile. And
it's 3 outfits out of that.
It is.
You're totally good to go.
Absolutely. You know, and they also will roll up very softly as well, because things like polyester viscose, they do tend to be crease-free as opposed to man-made fabrics like cotton and silk and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's a really hard-wearing one as well. Jeans aren't always the thing that you wear the most on holidays, but sometimes I like a pair of jeans, white jeans in the evening time.
Yeah.
So looser fit, wide leg. These are organic cotton from Penneys, so they've got a lovely soft finish to them. So they're nice and light and loose as well. But I've got them with the runner for traveling, but you can do them with the wedges, which we just saw in
Just
Italia
about to
as
say,
well.
yeah, you're good to go.
So it's really lovely. Runners, a dressy runner is great. These are from Aldo, which I absolutely love, and they've got a lovely little pattern on them too. So you can't, you know, that white trainer look is lovely, but they get too dirty. So I absolutely love these.
And you're wearing this with a dress on a night out as well, anyway.
Yeah, and when you come home.
And when you come home, it's going to be freezing.
Exactly. And then with the luggage as well, we've got a really nice case from Antler. This is really lovely. Antler's just launched in Ireland, actually. So you've got that lovely combo of the vanity case and the suitcase. The vanity case, what I particularly love about it is if you're coming up to security, anything you need to take out, Kindles, iPads, devices, your liquids, all in that case. So you just literally zip it open, into the security tray it goes, then back in the other side.
Okay.
Super handy and efficient to get through. Now, this is an investment piece of luggage, but you're talking lifetime investment here. They will last you so much. I've had suitcases that have gone all over the place with me, from Africa to the US to everything, and they're still fine.
I know, the ones that you buy, you know, every single year for a tenner, sometimes.
That's it.
Although I've got one that I bought for 30 quid.
And with a case like this, you might think, oh, that looks kind of small. But it's amazing what you can actually fit in a case. And we've got another one here, and I can explain that to you.
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful co-ord outfit on Audrey, and this is available from Pennies. So matching outfits are great, especially when it's a top and a skirt, because you can wear them together, but you wear them separately as well. So that little kind of milkmaid style top is super cute. It's got a little drawstring up the front as well to kind of cinch you in under the bust. Will look great with the white jeans, look great with a pair of denim shorts.
Yeah.
You can also wear it with, even if you wanted to go for a plain midi skirt or mini skirt.
Yeah.
Then down to the actual skirt, it's a lovely soft fabric. They're like actually contrasting fabrics. This one, white t-shirts.
Oh, they are contrasting, yeah.
It gives it a little bit of depth, I think, in the outfit. So the skirt can be worn with the bodysuit that Ursula was wearing just a few moments ago, the white t-shirt. So it's all mixing and matching, which is so handy. And then the little sandals is great, because if you don't want to wear a sandal that's super, super flat, because sometimes I actually find them quite hard to walk in.
When you're walking around, yeah.
These are great. They're slightly elevated at the back, and they've got a strap at the back as well, so you're nice and secure. And they're
Very
lovely
nice.
and lovely and soft.
So let's go with the case.
The case, this one is from Pennies. I've had this one tried and tested. What's great about this one is it weighs 1.3 kilos, which is very light for a carry-on suitcase. So that's another thing to be aware of. Your case has some weight in it.
Yeah.
So make sure you bear that in mind. But this one is super light. It's also fabric, so you will get a little bit more, let's say, leverage in it.
Give in it.
Yes, you will get more give in it.
But as you said, when they're waiting on the tar, macadam, and it rains,
exactly.
your clothes can get...
And also the 4 wheels is a must, so you can just glide it along beside you.
Amen.
So,
Natalia is back.
I love the colours in this. I think it's gorgeous. So this is about multi-wear, and this dress is from Vavavoom, which I absolutely love. Not only for the fact that it's so vibrant, this is where you want to kind of double up on outfits. So this one can be a beach dress over your swimwear. This can be something you wear out at night. It can be something you wear during the day. It has so many different aspects to it, which I love that.
Love it.
It's great. What I also particularly like about it is that it's slightly looser on the top.
Yes.
You've got this lovely big belt sleeve on it, a really flattering neckline and seam, which is nice in warm weather. So you've got that nice bit of breathing space on the top part of your body. And then the skirt is so cute because it's got a little tiered effect on it. And then another great pair of sandals. Sandals that are slightly raised. You'll see these again are not so flat from Aldo. They're
really soft.
They're really soft. They come in a couple of colours as well. So you can stack them on top of each other in your suitcase. So you layer them up on top of each other. And my final tip and trick that I have to share, if you've got a wash bag, toilet bags, makeup bags at home, use them as packing devices. So roll up your cottons, your vests, your underwear, your socks, put them in a wash bag, and then start stacking them in.
Layer it.
Yes.
She's packing for me when I'm going on holiday. I'm not doing it. Lorna Waitman, thank you so much for being with us today. Tommy, you're making the best thing in the entire world in the kitchen. Well, not you, Edward, thank God.
No, I'm not. I thought you two were never going to stop talking there. I'm dying to eat these. They're sitting there looking at me. We've got mini quiches coming up in the kitchen, and we're all one. There's been a scrap in here. Myself and Alan tried to horse one in. Edward Hayden's going to have it after the break.
Go on, get the one down.
Inspired by nature, powered by light. Beko Harvest Fresh sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
We've eaten them already, I'm sorry. We've got a tried and tested recipe in today's kitchen we've eaten them, sorry.
So tasty. I mean, I was giving out about quiches. They were Edward Hayden anyways in the kitchen. Good morning, Edward. We were giving you a hard time.
Done my best to hide them all morning. I went for 2 people who didn't like either hamless quiches or roasted vegetables. So I have to make a short work of them.
I'm giving Edward a hard time because I keep saying, where's the ham in the quiche?
Yeah. We're
But
on
they're very
a beautiful
tasty.
picnic
Goat
special
cheese
this
in them,
morning.
gorgeous.
Listen, there's a couple of elements to it, so I'm going to get straight in and get flying down to it. So I'm going to make a filling. Now, you can put whatever filling you like into it. You can put pesto, cherry tomatoes, feta. You can put ham in it as well. You can put lovely chorizo is gorgeous in them.
I had one last week and it was beautiful.
Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous. Put whatever you like. I've just got a selection of veg here. So I've just got some mushrooms. Who'd have thought? I have vegetables. I have red, green and yellow peppers.
You just talked about a beautiful selection. You're doing mushrooms.
I wonder, could I be retired from here?
I'm sure you could.
Yeah. I'm doing great work every week to try. Now, there, I've got a lovely selection of vegetables there as well. Okay, all those beautiful veg. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of oil. So I've got peppers, mushrooms, onions and courgettes there. I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on those and pop those into the oven. Now, I don't want those to overcook. So I'm only going to give them
in first.
Yeah. So I'm only going to give them about 15 minutes or thereabouts just to kind of soften them up and start the roasting process.
See, if you had ham, you wouldn't have to do that.
Well, you'd have to boil it, you know? You'd have to boil it. I'm telling you, I'd give you a ham now.
Grab a few more there for us.
Now, no, I won't. It won't. You're not getting them until I tell you you're getting them. That's the way it works. Now, I've got 2 eggs here for my lovely egg custard. OK, to that, I'm going to put in, again, another little bit of salt and pepper. OK, and then I've got some cream here. So I've got some cream, or you could use a combination of milk and cream if you prefer.
That thing?
OK, pardon?
What's that you've got? What's that you're holding?
Little whisk.
Oh,
a little mini whisk. Little mini whisk. We've all the mod cons down in Graignamanagh. Now I've a little bit of... we have small whisks, we have big whisks, we have every kind of whisk.
Medium whisks.
Listen, you name it, we have it.
I just thought you used a fork. But like a very
Oh, I'm
fancy,
telling you, very posh. Now, I've a little bit of chilli jam going in there. You can put a bit of basil pesto if you want it. And that's your egg custard, OK? So
chilli jam.
Chilli jam, just to give us a little bit of flavour. Think about putting some basil pesto in there as well, and it's gorgeous also.
With the sweet chilli?
No, instead of.
Oh, okay.
Instead of. Now, here I've got my lovely pastry. So I've got my 8 ounces, 225 grams of plain flour, bit of salt in there as well, and I've got 4 ounces, 110 grams of butter, which I'm literally just going to rub in. You can see I've popped on the gloves here for real convenience. OK, so get all of those rubbed in really nicely. So you'll be all making your pastry now this evening. But as I was saying,
cold, the butter.
The butter
cold?
has to be nice and cold. Now, I've just taken it out a few minutes before we came on air, just so that it would happen a little bit quicker. But again, if you were at home, make sure it's very cold.
But Edward, you wouldn't mind people if they just bought the pastry?
No, you could just buy the pastry. Or do you know what works very nice? You can buy the shortcrust pastry. You can also buy puff pastry, and it's nice as well. So you could do that
roll
as well.
it out and have
but
it
it's
done,
very quick and simple to do this. You'd have it done in zip time. And again, we were just talking during the break, the weather is going to be very favourable for this week. So this is ideal to hit the beach, push into your cool box and a nice little beach day. Now, there we have it together just like that. I have some flour here standing at the side, and then I'm just going to add in some cold water, and I'm going to bring that together into a lovely little dough. OK, so just bring it together. Now, again, if you were making like apple pies or apple crumbles or something like that, you might put in a spoon of sugar into this. But that's your short crust pastry. And we're literally just going to bring it together, just like so. And then what I'm going to do is... What's he laughing at?
Just like that.
Just like that. Now, so what I'm going to do then, I'm going to put it out onto a floured work surface. And then I'm just going to knead that together. And then what I will do with that is I'd wrap it up really nice and tightly in some cling film. OK, and then pop it into the fridge, and then you can roll it out in a little bit.
How long do you leave it in the fridge for?
Leave it in for about an hour if you can. OK, just an hour. There's our lovely piece of pastry, just like so.
Yeah,
now, meanwhile, then, what I've got...
We've only a minute, Edward.
OK, lovely. How did I know? Here I've got the tins lined with the pastry, so I've just cut them out into a lovely little disc. Then I'm going to spoon some of that lovely roasted vegetable. Now, depending on your preference, I like to have them well laden with the vegetables. Some people like to have things a little bit sparse. You were talking about the quiche Lorraine, so you could put some of the ham and the onion in there as well, just like so. Then what I'm going to do, I'll just finish one of these just so you see it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of goat's cheese on the top of those. and then taking some of my lovely egg custard, and the recipe that I've given people online is for 12, so I'm just making 6 this morning because I met them. Fill that up, pop them into the oven, 180, 350 gas mark 4 for about 20 minutes, and the resultant mixture, and I just made these a little bit earlier, and I've just popped them back onto a tray to warm up, and you can see... Please, sir.
Yes, there we go.
Now, as I said, for two that are after doing a lot of giving out about quiches, you are after doing fair good work demolishing.
No, they're very tasty. Oh, Muireann's coming in for
Come here, Muireann. Come here,
They were
Muireann.
robbing them from me. I'm dying for a quiche.
But again, lovely to have for a little picnic. If people are having a picnic, they're lovely to have if you have people just coming around for drinks or whatever like that, and vary the fillings to suit your own taste and preference.
Cold, delicious.
They're absolutely
the
delicious.
pastry is delicious as well. Edward Hayden, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Have a nice day.
Inspired by nature, powered by light. Becco Harvest Fresh sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
God, these are so good. I've been asking for quiches for ages. My mother does one with a black pudding. Oh, it's gorgeous.
black pudding.
Now,
No.
It's so good. Sorry, this is delicious. Now,
Mushrooms,
on
no.
Tuesday's show, we'll be exercising body and mind. Mentalist Keith Barry will be joining us. Also, we're going to have some Dancing with the Stars pros here as well.
And we're going to hear one woman's incredible story of discovering her sperm donor dad and 35 siblings.
35 siblings!
35 siblings!
Can you
All
believe
that,
it?
lots more. We'll
I'm
see
not
you
going to be
tomorrow.
here.